we are on Sefer Ahavah, right?
Yeah.
We didn't do any of that, did we?
No.
Okay. Sefer Ahavah. Here we go. Hilchosav Sheish. There are 6 halacha sections. Zehu Siduran. Oh, you know what we didn't do actually? We did not talk about the order of the sections in the Sefer Hamada, just to get some basic idea. Yesodei Torah obviously has to be first, right? Then Talmud Torah, Avodah Zara, Deos, Talmud Torah, Avodah Zara, Tshuva. So I would have put Avodah Zara second, because first of all, when he, in the Sefer, in the minyan and mitzvos, he's got Anochi and Lo Yeh Lecha as the first 2, and then when he was describing the Chalukot Asfarim, he said that, hold on, and this is not a riot necessarily, but that he's going to echel bo mitzvos shein ikar das Moshe Rabbeinu, v'tzarich leida osan tchilas hakol kagon yichud shmo baruch hu Yisrael avodah zara, right? So like, avodah zara and like yichud Hashem and God's existence seem to be like very primary,
Yeah.
And then if he's not going to do that, like if you went Yesodei Torah and then Talmud Torah, I would also kind of understand that, because you could say that like, Talmud Torah, you could say that it's in the order of the, like in the Shema almost, like you have to Shem Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad, you have to Shem Elokeinu b'chol levav v'chol nafshecha v'chol miyodecha, and then v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavach hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam, that would also be a nice order, and he repeats that order in, if you want to look at really quickly, Hilchos Kriyas Shema, Parak Aleph. We're not going to do the whole thing, but just I want to borrow a phrase from there. Oh man, I've got too many things open, too many tabs. Okay, here we go. Hilchos Kriyas Shema and Sefer Ahavah, first section. First parak, I think it's the 3rd halacha or the 2nd halacha, where he says the order of the parshios.
Right.
Yeah. Hold on, I almost got it here. All right, here we go. He says, so he says the 3 parshios. Oh, sorry, yeah, the second halacha is mahu kore shalosh parshios elu hin shema uvahaya im shema uvayomer umakdimin likros parsha shema mipnei sheyesh bat sivui al yichud Hashem v'ahavas v'talmudo shehu ha'ikra gadol shel kol talui bo. Right. So like I could see Talmud Torah being up there on the list also, of high. Deo seems like not as essential, So I guess these factors point to the fact that doesn't seem to be going in order of importance necessarily.
Right. I was thinking, could it be he's starting with like the hobos levels and then like going to like the.
That could be. That's interesting. So meaning to say that in Avodah Zara, then there are chovos ha'ivarim.
Right. I mean, it's like the tom of Avodah Zara is like, Lo Yeh Lecha.
Yeah. Well, first, sorry, I'm an idiot. Hold on just a second. Lo Yeh Lecha is in Yesodei Torah, so that he does take care of. Yeah. Right. I meant by Lo Yeh Lecha like all the Avodah Zara stuff that follow. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like the tom is like based on Yichud Hashem.
Yeah.
But it's not in term. It expresses itself as an action, whereas Deos and Yesodei Torah don't.
I hear it's, I don't know, it's difficult to justify everything based on that, all the particulars, because let's say like L'Kadeh Shemo and Shelo Chal Shemo, that's all in action, and Lishmo Min Hanavi Hamidaber B'Shemo, Shelo La'avi Dvarim Shnikra Shemo Alehem, that's action also, even though the idea is Yesodei Torah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, I guess those are the 2 like purposes of the Torah, is like to perfect your knowledge and to perfect your midos.
Okay, that's a good approach. Right.
And everything kind of comes out.
Right. So that's like I don't know if you were intentionally referencing Ralbag.
As I was saying it.
Okay. Yeah, because Rambam does make the same distinction also, but right, it's Tikkun HaNefesh and Tikkun HaGuf, and midos are part of Tikkun HaGuf. Yeah. Right. So it makes sense to lead with those. And then Talmud Torah's got to be pretty high up there, just because it's like a Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, in the sense that you can't do anything else without that. But like, I guess in a sense, let's try this out. So Yesodei Torah and Deos are both the ends. Right. Really, Yesodei Torah is the ends, Deos is like a means towards that end.
It kind of goes in gradations.
Yeah, and then Talmud Torah is going to be the means to accessing all of it and to like gaining perfection and all of that. And then Avodah Zarah and Tshuva could be also grouped together, right? Because those are really with a negative, meaning things that detract you, from those goals that are still within Hamada category.
Right.
It's like the thing you're fighting against, so to speak. And then what happens when you fail?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So getting a sketch like that's kind of what I want to do for each of the Sefarim. Okay. And like not that's the thing we can think about infinitely. But hold on, I think this mask has worn out its. I guess you don't use paper masks so much.
I use it.
Yeah, right. So like if you wear one mask for a while,
I
think the moisture makes the cottony part a little like lipsticky, not lipsticky, but like sticking to the lips.
Right.
I don't know that one, whatever. All right, I'll suffer through it for now. All right. Okay. Next. All right. So then we go to Ahavah. Okay. So let's remember that this time. We'll read through everything and then we will try to explain the order. So Hilchos of Sheish v'zehu sidron. So their halacha sections are 6, and this is their order. Hilchos Kriya Shema, Hilchos Tefillah Birchos Kohanim. Okay, one section. All right, Tefillah and Birchos Kohanim. Hilchos Tefillin Mezuzah of Sefer Torah. Right, so that's a grouping. Hilchos Tzitzis, Hilchos Brachos, and Hilchos Mila. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hilchos Kriya Shema mitzvah aseh achas v'hi likros Kriya Shema pa'amayim bayom. So one mitzvah aseh, which is to read the Kriya Shema twice a day. That's one mitzvah. All right. Hilchos, I think that's no different than in the minyan mitzvos. Hilchos Tefillah Birchos Kohanim yesh bichlal and shtei mitzvos aseh achas. Lavod es Hashem b'tefillah b'chol yom, to serve Hashem in tefillah every day. And I believe that is different because I think he called it lihis palel. Let's check in Hay. Yeah, lihis palel lo, to daven to him. Shnemar v'avadtem es Hashem elokechem avodah zo hi tefillah. Yeah.
So, right. That's weird. Yeah, because you would think that he would use the lashon of the pasuk.
Right. There goes our theory again. Yep, that theory is
it keeps getting knocked.
Yep. All right. Hold on. Okay. So then we got, and the next one is Shnia Levarach Kohanim Es Yisrael B'chol Yom. That the Kohanim should bless Israel every day. I think that one was the same. I'm just going to quickly check. Levarach Kohanim Es Yisrael. Yeah, he doesn't say B'chol Yom though. Okay. Then Hilchos Tefillin and Mezuzah. The Sefer Torah, right? So this is just a perfect example, by the way, of like, for all we know, the Rambam could have separated these. You could say that they're all tied together because of Safrus, but given the way that the Rambam, we had that mystery in the very beginning of Sefer Mitzvos that he's defining by inyan, and like that, I don't know if that's enough to tie them together as an inyan. Like I feel like you could find, let's say for example, there are probably going to be lots of other areas in the Mishneh Torah where you could find two things that utilize the same materials or whatever,
right.
But they're not necessarily in one section.
Well, it could be a combination of that, and they're just small. So. Yeah,
but he's not. I don't think he's averse to having small sections. Like Hilchos Nara Basula is only 2 chapters, I think.
Really?
And Tzitzis is 3, maybe. Let me check. Tzitzis, let's check. Tzitzis is 3 chapters. Mila, I think, is also short. Mila is also 3 chapters. Yeah. Yeah. So
maybe because there's not. It's maybe because there's nothing to connect to those. There's no natural combination.
Right. Yeah, I guess let's keep it in mind as we go, because I have a feeling when we get to other stuff, then it might throw a question into that. Sure. All right, Hilchos. Yeah.
On this whole section as a whole, the one standout does seem to be the Sefer Torah, because Tefillin and Mezuzah you do use every day. Sefer Torah you don't use every day.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Yeah, in fact, you only got a mitzvah to do it once. Right, you just read the Sefer Torah.
Right. Well, writing it at least. Yeah.
Well, sure. That's the mitzvah he's talking about. He doesn't talk about reading Sefer Torah in Hilchos Sefer Torah. Reading Sefer Torah is part of Tefillah.
Then even more. I guess then wait. So then is tefillin and mezuzah also writing it?
Yeah, because that's how to make it.
But it's not wearing it or
and wearing it and using it. Yeah, but Sefer, he doesn't do Kriyas Torah in Hilchos Sefer Torah at all, because that's all in Hilchos Tefillah. It's part of the institution of Tefillah according to him.
I do know that people like, I was doing like Menachos this year.
Yeah.
And people refer to it as like stam.
Yeah.
Like those three.
Right.
Is that maybe that's because of the Rambam? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know when that initiated. Yeah. I'm kind of suspect of like acronyms like that in terms. That one makes sense because again, like practically, you could see the need to refer. But I've seen stuff also like I remember there was a teacher in Shalhevet once. And maybe this is a phrase used elsewhere. She referred to a section she said Sifrei Emet. And I was like, why do you call it Tanakh Sifrei Emet? And she said, no, it refers to Eov Mishlei Tehillim. And I'm like, who made that pairing?
That's a random.
If you said like Sifrei Shlomo, like that's a pair, so like you can make an acronym, but like, I don't know, what comes first? Is it the concept or the acronym? Yeah. Okay. So Yesh Bichlal and Chamesh Mitzvos V'zehu Pratan Lios Tefillin Aharosh, that the tefillin should be on the head. That's also an interesting one, right? And you compare that to Lekashran Al Hayad, to tie them onto the hand.
Yeah.
How did he say it in the minyan and mitzvos 12 and 13? Likshor. So he did kshir for both of them. Yeah, that's very strange. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't say lahaniach either for any of them. Gimel likboa mezuzah bepiskei hasha'arim.
I just realized as we're reading that it might be that we're not going to be able to understand the full groupings if we don't know all the halachos.
Yeah, that's true.
If we haven't been through this again.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, because let's say if a person, this is maybe not the best example, but the average Jew, I think, thinks that it's a mitzvah to put on tefillin once a day, they just have a vague notion.
Right.
Whereas if you learn the halachos, you realize, no, you have to be wearing tefillin all day.
Yeah.
So lihios tefillin al rosh makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And the question is really on likshor, al hayad.
Right.
So our sense of it might be warped there. That's true. It's not going to stop us from trying, based on where we are.
Right.
And and not just jokingly, but I think that the Rambam is assuming that the reader of the Mishneh Torah has some familiarity with mitzvos, right? He's not saying that this is this is not the first time they're encountering these terms. Otherwise, they'd be very confused. So if he actually is assuming that you're going to encounter the grouping before you've learned the halachos, there has to be some there's an initial stage where your mind is encountering these things being grouped together for the first time. And that understanding will be solidified after you go through the halachos, but there is some value apparently to there's some developmental stage where we start to conceptualize these halachos in one group.
Yeah.
That if we can articulate that, then that would help us with that, I think. Yeah. Should I give a methodology point that's been on my mind?
Sure.
Okay, so this is not related to what we're doing right now. This is I mentioned yesterday. I don't think I mentioned this on the recording, but that I was having a conversation with someone about what the Rambam's view is of a person who holds that God has emotions. Okay, and so one of the questions was the Rambam clearly spells out that God doesn't have emotions in Yesodei Torah. And then in Hilchos, under his discussion about God's incorporeality, when the God is not a body and is not subject to bodily occurrences. Okay. In Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Gimel, when he's talking about the people who don't have Olam Haba, and he defines the 5 types of 5 types of heretic, he lists as one of them someone who believes that there is a God, but he is a goof and a bal tmuna, that he has a body and an appearance. Okay. So I have always read that as the list in Hilchos Tshuva is like a condensed shorthand list for terms that the Rambam has already spelled out before or after. So for example, when he talks about, he says, someone is a min if they think that there is, that if they don't have, if they believe that the world has no God. Okay, right? So, so I view that as, if they believe that the world has no God, as defined by the mitzvah to believe that there is a God in Hilchos Yesodei Torah. So for example, if a person believed that the world has a God and they believe that the God is a dependent being, a dependent existence, then they would still be denying, they would be a min, even though they believe that there's a God, but like, you know, so this other rabbi was reading the halachos and saying, no, in Yesodei Torah, that's spelling out the full concept, but in tshuva, the precise parameters of what he says, that's how he's defining a heretic. Okay, so for example, in the nafkamina, one of the big nafkaminas is God having emotions.
Right.
So I view it as when he says that God, one who believes that God has a body or an image doesn't have the chalukot olam haba. That I would say that includes bodily phenomena, because that's what the Rambam expounded on in Yesodei Torah. Whereas this other rabbi says, no, he specifically means if you hold that God has a body, then you lose your chalukot olam haba. But if you hold that God had emotions or could change or whatever, then that's wrong, but you don't lose your chalukot olam haba. Okay. So one of the arguments I was making is that the Rambam holds that this is a book, you know, and that he expects you to have read Yesodei Torah, Tshuva and Yesodei Torah in concert with each other, you know, and this other rabbi was arguing not, you know, that Tshuva should be able to be taken alone. And one of the arguments he made is he says that the Rambam should have referred you to that if he, you know, if he wanted you to read it, he should have referred you to that explicitly, you know. And the Rambam does do that a lot in the Mishneh Torah. He says, like, Kamosha bi'arnu b'hilchos Yesodei Torah, you know, and his argument was, if he says that, then he's assuming that you've read that part because he's explicitly like calling your attention to it. Right. But if not, then he's not necessarily assuming that you've read that. Okay. Now, clearly, the approach we've been taking in the Rambam here is that it is a unified book, and he is expecting you to read the entire thing and to cross-reference it with itself. Yeah. You know, for example, in that halakha and mezuzah I just gave you, or not mezuzah, in Kriya Shema, Yichudo, Ahavaso, and Talmudo, Shehu Eker Agado Shel Katoloi Bo. He's expecting you to know Yichud Hashem is from Hilchos Yesodei Torah Perek Aleph, and Ahavah Hashem from Perek Beis, and Talmud Torah from Hilchos Talmud Torah. You know,
in that case, yeah, it seems obvious.
It seems obvious, right? And I think the whole thing is obvious because I think that's how writers write when they write books. You know, but further, so I was curious though about, and here's the methodology point. I was curious about the issue about when does the Rambam reference Kamosha bi'arnu? You know, so. My theory is, and this is a theory, I've not checked every instance. It's not even a theory arrived at through checking every instance. It's just, this is what I'm theorizing right now, is the Rambam will refer you to other places in the book when he is explicitly like requiring a premise, you know, to make an argument or something like that, you know? And I think a clear example of this, look in Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Zion.
Before we do that,
yeah.
Regardless of like what the Rambam is trying to do,
yeah,
it definitely wouldn't be. There would be a logic to say that, you know, it is a reference book and it's not meant to be. It's not like a novel.
No, right. But it's a reference book that is meant to be referenced, right? Meaning that he is expecting you to know from the structure of the book that he outlines in the table of contents that he's, you know, where to look when you're writing about stuff. And this is, by the way, this is not just like my theory. And I'm also not an expert on the Rambam's tshuvos, but in his shilos and tshuvos, many of his answers to questions that people ask are answered by referring them to places in the Mishneh Torah where they can find their answers, where he's already explained this, you know. And that's also part of his plan from Sefer mitzvos, where he says that you can find the answer. You know, everything is contained in there, that you can find the answer that you need either explicitly or without Iyun Rachok, you know. Now that does not just mean thinking about the one line that you're on. That means thinking about the entire thing, you know.
And it does make sense. Now it kind of makes a lot of sense why he laid it out like beforehand.
Yes, that's why I'm bringing it in now, because I'm thinking like when I realized as I was talking, then I was saying something that was predicated on this assumption that Rambam wants us to see the sections before we go through stuff. And sorry, I cut you off in the middle.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Just to be aware of like what the things are, you know. So look at Perek Zayin Halach Aleph. Okay, Ho'il urishus kol adam nesunalo kamosha bi'arnu. Since people have free will, as we explained. Okay. Now, where did he explain that?
I'll hey Olive.
Explained it 2 chapters earlier.
Right.
Now, even if you want to say that the Rambam is not expecting you to have read Hilchos Yesodei Torah when you're reading Hilchos Tshuva, he is expecting you to have read chapters 5 and 6 before you've read chapter 7. So why does he say Kamosha Bi'arnu? Because that's the premise that he has for this next point, which is therefore a person is obligated to do tshuva, and this is the introduction to Perek Shvi'i, which is a separate mechayev of tshuva, that there's tshuva that you're chayev in because of mitzvos vidui, in which he talks about in the first and second perek. There's tshuva that you're chayev in because of Yom HaKippurim, and this is Bechira itself. The reality of Bechira is a mechayev of tshuva, so that's why he's referring to it. So I don't buy the argument that Kamosha Bi'arnu means that, like, in other words, I don't think you can say that the Rambam will only expect you to read something if he explicitly references you to it, because if that were the case, then this is just kind of absurd here.
Yeah. Why? Because you're expecting everyone's going to read.
Everyone has just read chapter 5 and 6 before they read chapter 7.
Right.
So why is he saying Kamosha? In other words, he should not say Kamosha Bi'arnu,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying no, he should say Kamosha Bi'arnu because he's drawing your attention to a particular premise that he's now going to apply.
Unless someone wanted to just look up the exact information that's in chapter 7.
Could be. And that's my primary argument is this whole thing is a reference book for all the mitzvos, so he doesn't need to tell you. I don't even think there has to be a theory for why he says Kamosha Bi'arnu and why he doesn't. Like again, like in the Kriya Shema example I just gave, he doesn't have to say Kamosha Bi'arnu, but if he did, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. I'd be like, yeah, he did explain it. Like I'm not.
I also wasn't even thinking about this whole thing. That you like this whole machlokes.
Yeah.
I didn't even blink twice when he said that. I obviously talking about what he said before. Right.
And again, I don't think this is a chiddush. This is like in Torah, like in Sefer Bereshis, like when you're reading one part of it, like God is expecting you to realize that you're reading a book. You're not reading a serial comic that comes out once every week. Like, so it's self-referential. Yeah. Now, you could say that, like, not all books were written like that. Like you could say, for example, the Gemara, depending on how you hold it was compiled and written, might not be assuming that you have familiarity with everything else. But let's say, one thing in the Gemara, there's, I don't know if it's the first Rashi in Shas. There's a Rashi that says, sorry, hold on, let me just look it up. Probably quicker for me to just grab it off the shelf, but I don't know where things are now. I'm just gonna look it up here. Talmud. It is a shame that people who only, there's gonna be some poor chap who's only gonna see Al Torah from these videos and be like, it's so slow.
Right.
It's only slow on Zoom. It's not actually slow in real life. Trust me. Okay. So the Emisai Korin Es Shema Ba'arvin, right? That's the the opening line of Shas, right? So Rashi, I think there's a Rashi here. Hold on. I don't think. No, it might just be on misremember. Oh no, I found it. Okay, sorry. It was not on the Mishnah. That's why I couldn't find it. Yeah. So it says there's a phrase. I'm not going to go through the whole Shach Levataria. Tana akra kai. The Tana was referring to the pasuk. Okay, and Rashi says akra kai. You don't need to look it up at this point. It's just, okay, yeah. All right. Where's that noise? Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's on the Gemara.
It's on the Gemara. Yeah, I think it's Rashi on the Gemara. Okay. I can't tell you where it is on the source of Daf because I don't have it. But it's akra kai. V'sham lamar chovas hakriya, and there you learn the obligation of kriya. Right. So again, I'm just giving this as an example where, like, the authors of the Gemara or the editors of the Gemara, whoever you want to say, they were not, I don't think they were necessarily assuming that you were familiar with all the Gemaras in order to read everything.
Yeah.
They were assuming that you had familiarity with the Torah Shebechsav, because the Gemara doesn't deal with the question of where do we learn the Chovas Kriya from. That's just taken for granted in the Sugya.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my assumption of the Mishneh Torah, that yes, it's a reference book. So he's not going to say, it would be ridiculous to say, I'm going to assume that when you start Yesodei Torah, you're Baki and Kol HaMishneh Torah Kula. But at the same time, I'm hoping that you acknowledge that this is one work and that it's self-referential. And again, I think it's not even stuff that just comes before. Let's say, for example, in Hilchos Tshuva, he talks about someone who doesn't believe in the Bias HaGoel, and that's all he says in Tshuva, But then in the actual halachos, in Hilchos Malachim, he spells out exactly what the parameters are of believing in Mashiach and not.
That's like an apikar.
Let me see what category he says it in.
Or,
It's one of the Ikarim, right?
Yeah, but I thought there was.
Hold on.
Okay, maybe I just forgot.
Maybe I forgot also. I thought I saw the phrase this morning.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. It's not one of the major categories. It's the it is a major category, but it's not one that he spells out.
Okay.
Right? It's in Halacha Vav.
Yeah.
Right. Elush ein lahem chelik l'olam haba, ela nichrasim odim nidon al godol rishon l'chatasim l'olam haminim v'apikosim v'akofrim b'torah v'akofrim b'tchias mesim v'akofrim b'bias hagoel v'amushumadim v'amachti harabim v'porshim midar zibur. Yeah, it's its own thing. Yeah. Right.
Cool.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just a Rambam reading tidbit, and I think it's pashut. I think it's pashut that the Rambam holds that this is a book and that you should learn the other stuff. Okay. All right. Back to Sefer Ahavah. We did likbo mezuzah b'piskei ha'arim. Okay. Daled lichtov kol ish Sefer Torah la'atzmo, that each man should write a Sefer Torah for himself. 5 is lichtov hamelach Sefer sheni la'atzmo k'dei sheyihi lo shnei Sefer Torah. I think there was a similar lashon in the minyan mitzvos. Lichtov hamelach Sefer Torah la'atzmo yaser al ha'achad shalicho adam ad sheyeh lo shtei toros. Yeah. So many shtei toros. Yeah. I feel like that's used only negatively, like not say Torah kashtei toros. Sefer Torah makes sense. Yeah, right. Okay, so that is.
Is there are there hyperlinks?
So that's the wish list that I asked him to make, which he said is going to happen at some point. I opened up the tabs and I used Control F to find the number. Yeah. Yeah, which is probably faster than the hyperlink, actually, or as fast with the zoom. Okay, Hilchos tzitzis mitzvos achas v'hi lasos tzitzis al kanfei haksus. What was that one in the thing? Is lasos tzitzis? Yeah, so it's just a vaguer in the minyan. Hilchos brachos mitzvos achas v'hi levarech es shemo achar achila, to bless his name after eating. Mila mitzvos achas v'hi lamul es hazacharim bayom hashemini, to circumcise the males on the 8th day. See, that's also interesting. I gotta see how he does that here. Reish Tes Vav, because Lamu as Habain. Oh, that's also interesting. The reason why it caught my eye. What is false about the statement of Lamul as Hazacharim Bayom Hashmini?
It's not always on the 8th day.
Okay, so that you could say L'Chadchila, it has to be on the day.
Oh.
Yeah, Ezra?
Isn't the Isra to have, or isn't it removing? Actually, never mind. That's what Mila is. Never mind.
Yeah.
The problem with Safari?
It introduces a problem which is not present in the minyan and mitzvos. Who do you circumcise besides your son?
Your animals. No.
No.
Isn't it also mitzvah to circumcise yourself?
That's only if your dad doesn't do it.
Not women.
No.
What else has a foreskin? I don't get it.
Servants, miknas kaspo. And when do you circumcise them?
Not on the 8th.
No, on the first day.
When? Oh, really?
Yeah.
When they're born?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, wow.
Now let's just check and make sure I'm not lying. I gotta admit, I'm not as familiar with the halachas of miknas kaspo for that. Let's just see. Sefer Ahavah Mila Hakol. Okay, kaspo.
So that's not a problem for the word zachar. It's a problem for shmini.
It's a problem for the fact that if he just said like, yeah, like if he didn't say, I mean, look, it's not like a huge problem, you know. Like I was just a little surprised that he when he says ben, so ben is definitely going to be on the 8th day, you know.
Oh, I see. That's. Oh, I get it. Because it says it's more general.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
Hold on. Why am I not finding Evid?
Is that a separate view?
Hold on just a second here. Those are shows. Am I really like? Am I just getting this from the pasuk and like the halacha changed? Based team is Evid. Zman of lo yanicha or Elvis of lo avadehem. In mulinus of shalom midayto. Echad Evid shalom b'shus Yisrael. Echad kol chayim l'shiel. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Aleph Gimel. Echad Evid shel nolad b'shus Yisrael. Echad Evid shel nilchach min hagoyim. Hakol chayab harav lemulan. Ella lead bias nimolin be lishmona ubmiknas kesef nimol biyom shalakacho shnilkach afilu lakacho biyom shenolad nimol biyomo. So it's not dafka that you do it on the day they're born, but even on the day that they're born, you know. But you do it when you acquire them. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not so bothered because it's a particular, but like my eyes kind of got wide when he switched to Zacharim, which I was immediately thinking of the Eved. Anyway.
Wow. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it is weird, right?
It doesn't seem like particular. It seems like, I mean, obviously I haven't been through the lot, but
yeah.
It seems like it's more of a separate like category.
Right. And you could see an idea there being like, you know, to enter into the house of Yisrael, base Yisrael from outside, like this needs to be like a you know, you got a stamp on your hand when you go to the fair concert. You got a mila when you it doesn't matter, you know. Yeah. All right. Nimsu kol mitzvos hanichlos b'sefer zeh chasesrei mitzvos to say. So, no mitzvos los say in this. You see from here that God's love is not negative. Yeah. So 18. 11 mitzvos to say. Yeah.
That is funny that the mitzvah of Ahavah is not in the Sefer.
Yes. Right. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because all these are predicated on it. But yeah, it is funny. Okay. Sefer Zmanim is Hilchos Eser, 10 halachas. Oh, sorry, order. Right, what's the order here? Kriya Shema, Tefillah Birkas Kohanim, Stam, Tzitzis Brachos Mila. So Kriya Shema being first, I understand, right? That's Kabbalah Zalmach Shemayim. Tefillah second, I understand, because that is that's predicated on Kabbalah Zalmach Shemayim.
That also might be the same. I mean, not perspective, but that seems like the same ordering of Mada. That it's good. It's like the core ideas, and then like the personality, like changing your personality.
That's interesting. I can see that.
Yeah.
Now those are the only ones that are daily.
Right.
Those three, including Birkas Kohanim. That's Levarach Kohanim Yisrael B'chol Yom, right? Tefillin is not formulated as a daily mitzvah, even though functionally it is daily. It's not lahaniach tefillin B'chol Yom, because we don't do it every day, also. But you know,
Right.
Yeah, and mezuzah is constant, and Sefer Torah is like what do I call them in my mind? I think in my mind, I don't think I've ever actually said this, but I think I call them like mission accomplished mitzvos, same thing with like building the base of Mikdash, or like terminal mitzvos, but that sounds too morbid. But like, you know, that they end. You know, you do them once and they're over.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess mezuzah is also.
No, because any new house you get, you're gonna make a new mezuzah. You know, this you do once in your life. That's it. You know, and then once you've done it, you know, that's it. Yeah. So the reason I bring that out is we start with the daily ones.
Yeah.
Then it goes to constant reminders. Okay, this is, and I'm saying constant reminders because that's how the Rambam portrays them in Hilchos Mezuzah. When he says, you know, anyone who has tefillin on his head and mezuzah on his door and tzitzis on his beged is muchzak that he's not going to sin.
Mm-hmm.
Sefer Torah is whatever, you know.
Well, yeah,
this drag along.
The Malach has to carry it around.
Right. Yeah, he needs it more. Right. But these are all like constant presences, you know.
Yeah.
And then tzitzis is also there. And then it does look like, I mean, it's starting to look like tzitzis is not in this category with tefillin, mezuzah, and Sefer Torah, because it is a completely different form.
Yeah.
It's not written.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is also, that serves the same function.
It serves the same function, right? And it's next to them.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I guess Mila is also a mission accomplished mitzvah, right?
Right, but I think the Gemara also talks about it as like a constant reminder.
Yeah, well, Rambam did also in yesterday, right? And he defined it as a reminder when you don't have anything else. Yeah. Brachos is interesting, right? Because that's like daily, but not by necessity. It's daily because you're going to be eating every day, eating bread presumably, but it's not like a.
Right. Well, I guess mezuzah is the same thing. Like if you don't live in a house. That's
also true, right? Yeah. I'm not exactly sure the ordering of those last ones there.
Right.
Especially because, not that this is a riot or anything, but like we would not have batted an eye if you put brachos up there with tefillah, brachos going in brachos, you know.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess tzitzis, brachos, in this and mila. Well, but brachos and tzitzis for sure are like also mezuzah, are like attached to like certain objects, like you're modifying certain objects.
Ahavah, not modifying. No.
Yeah. Ice meal also you're modifying your goat. Like,
yeah.
Whatever. So.
Right. That's a good observation. Yeah. Brachos, not though.
Well, brachos, you're modifying the activity of eating.
And Sefer Torah, you're modifying your lack of Sefer Torah. No, I hear it with the other ones. I don't hear it so much by brachos.
No, yeah, never mind.
Yeah. Okay, onward. Sefer Zmanim. Hilchos of Esther v'zehu siduran. Hilchos Shabbos, Hilchos Erevin, Hilchos Shvisas Asor. So that's resting on the 10th day. So that's Yom Kippurim. Hilchos Shvisas Yom Tov. Really interesting. He puts it in terms of Shvisa there, right? I mean, for both of those. Hilchos Chametz Umatzah, right? Not Chag Matzos, not Pesach.
Right.
Hilchos Shofar v'Sukkah v'Lulav. That one I've never heard a convincing explanation of, right?
Why it's connected.
Yeah, why not Hilchos Shofar on its own,
Yeah.
and then Sukkah v'Lulav on its own?
Right. If you're gonna put chametz and matzah, right, on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it was all the Moadim in one, then fine. Yeah. Hilchos Shkalim. Okay, because now we're past the Moadim themselves. Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh. This one I could see. So Shkalim, I honestly don't know why it's there. You know, it is at a certain time, but I feel like Kiddush HaChodesh should either be at the very beginning of the list, or after Shabbos and Erevin, or like right after the Moadim, because it's the thing that determines all the Moadim, you know? And like conceptually, it's prior to all the Moadim. So conceptually, it's prior to Shkalim also, you know? Because anything that's dependent on time, you know? So so Shkalim is really the question in my mind.
Yeah.
Hilchos Tainios, so that is a different kind of Zmanim one, right? The other ones are Zmanim on the calendar. This is Zmanim in terms of an Ace Sarah, which is not scheduled, I hope. And then Hilchos Megillah v'Chanukah. Classic question on the title there. You know that one? The classic question?
Oh, Megillah, and then it should be like Megillah and like Menorah or something, or
right. Or Purim and Hanukkah. Yeah, right. Yeah, a lot of answers given on that. Okay. Hilchos Shabbos. Yesh bichlal chamesh mitzvos. There are 5 mitzvos. It's always a fun thing asking students if they can name the 5 mitzvos to Oraisa and Shabbos. Right? They can never get it. You know, they always get not doing malacha.
Right.
Then they also, some of them will get kiddush.
Yeah.
And then they're like faltering, you know?
I don't even know how I get it. Let's say like carry, or sorry, like tchum.
Tchum, yeah.
That's all right. Age?
Nope, that's part of malacha, yeah.
Shoot.
So if I tell you of the 5.
Oding.
Nope, that's not Doraisa. Or that's not counted. That's yeah. I'll tell you there's 2 mitzvos to say and 3 los ases. So you've gotten so I won't tell you. You got you.
It was 3 los. Okay. Yeah.
Ready for it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. V'zehu pratan lishbos b'shvi'i. That's the assay. Shvisa. Okay. Then shelo lasos bo malacha. That's los aseh. Okay. Question is, what is shvisa?
We just said all these.
Is shvisa just the mirror, or is it like something else? Gimel, this is the one that's no one gets. Shlo lanosh b'Shabbos. Right, not to punish on Shabbos. Yeah. Dalet shlo latzes chutz l'gvul b'Shabbos, and then lakadesh hayom b'zechira, to sanctify the day with remembering. I want to see how he said that in the minyan mitzvos kufnin hey. He said, oopsies, kufnin hey, lakadesh Shabbos. So he didn't say b'zechira, even though he quoted the. There's another lashon pasuk one, right? So he incorporates the lashon pasuk into the koseres, not the minyan mitzvos. All right, hilchos erevin. Mitzvos asay achas v'hi midivrei sofrim. That's the first one. V'ena minha minyan. And interestingly enough, he does not formulate them when he has a case like this. He tells you that there's a mitzvah midivrei sofrim, but he doesn't spell out what it is.
That's so weird.
Yeah, right? Why doesn't he spell it out?
But also, is that the only time that he has an entire section of halacha that isn't there?
I think there's one. Well, Megillah of Hanukkah. Oh, right. Yeah, that we're going to get to.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. Hilchos erevin, mitzvos achas v'hi midivrei sofrim. Okay. Hilchos shvisas asor yesh b'chlan arba mitzvos shtei mitzvos se ushtei mitzvos los aseh v'zehu pratan. So 2 aseh and 2 los aseh, and this is their details. Lishbos bo malacha. And that's actual malacha, not malachas avoda. Then shlo lasos bo malacha, not to do malacha on it. Gimel lichis anos bo, to fast on it, or literally to afflict oneself on it. And then dal shlo lecha v'lishtos bo, not to eat and drink on it. Yeah, see, this is what I mentioned this to someone, I don't think it was here, about what does the Rambam hold. If I ask you point blank, what does the Rambam hold about nilas hasandal and stuff on Yom Kippurim?
Ooh.
That's what I thought also,
Yeah.
because and I think it's because I had this in my mind that he said the los aseh is to not eat and drink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he does.
that's what I thought also.
That makes sense.
Let's just check, because I meant to look it up on. Someone reacted to me like I had just like proclaimed someone the Mashiach.
Right.
That like what? But I'm pretty sure my memory served me correctly.
It might be machlokas.
No, it is definitely a machlokas, I think. I just want to know what the Rambam holds, or machlokas between the Rambam and someone else.
Oh, yeah, machlokas between Rambam.
Yeah. Ne'ilas. Wait, am I in the right section? Did I open the wrong section? I'm in. I clicked on Yom Tov.
Oh, me too.
Shvisas Asor. Yeah, this is another three chapter.
Yeah.
No. Oh, here we go. Some Gimel. Asr lechos b'Yom Kippurim bein b'cham b'mitzonin. Where does he introduce it though? Is that where he introduces it?
Oh yeah, it's Dalet.
Dalet, Gimel Dalet? No, Aleph Dalet. Oh, all the way up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Oh, he says, yeah, so hey, right? As a sandal or livol. Mitzvah lishvos mikol elu. So that implies it's part of the essay, right? Shabbos linyan malacha, Shabbos linyan meliv ein chayav im karis o korban el al chila shasi bavad, im rachat osach o nal bal maknos o makas mardus. See, that's what I thought, is that the assay of shvisa includes all of them, but the los assay deoraisa is only achila and shasia.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Huh? Why is that?
I don't know.
Yeah, you would think they would be totally parallel.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm not crazy, and we were both right. Turns out,
right.
Because he said that they're all derisa, and I said that they that those were derbanan, and
right.
it differs. Okay. All right. We are now at Hilchos Shvisas Yom Tov. Yesh bichlalan shtei misrei mitzvos, sheish mitzvos aseh, the sheish mitzvos los aseh, v'zehu pratan, and this is the most boring section of all the Hilchos. Lishvos barishon shel Pesach shelo lasos bo malacha. Lishvos bashvi shel Pesach shelo lasos bo malacha. Lishvos biyom chag hashvuos shelo lasos bo malacha. Lishvos b'Rosh Hashanah shelo lasos bo malacha. Lishvos barishon shel chag hasukos shelo lasos bo malacha. Lishvos bashmini shel chag shelo lasos bo malacha. And I think we noted this is the one that we noted weird things in for the minyan, right? That he referred to them by different names, like Echad B'Tishrei and like Chag Hamato. You know,
Right.
this one is much more consistent,
It's interesting.
I think, and yeah, and he calls it Rosh Hashanah. Also, I still find it weird. I mean, that he doesn't say Malachas Avoda for the ones that are Malachas Avoda. He says Malacha as if it's equal. Like if you just read this list, you would think it's the same Isser Malacha as for Shabbos and Yom Kippurim. You know,
that's true.
yeah.
Is it only the Ramban that makes that deal of like Malachas Avoda?
The pasuk makes the diuk.
Right.
What do you mean makes the diuk?
Like he like says, oh yeah, Malachas Avoda, that like I don't know. I thought he was the one that pointed that out.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the pasuk definitely uses it. Not in every case. That's the problem also because it'll say stuff that it's like what is it? I forgot if it's the Shvi Shel pasuk. It says Malacha, but really it's Malachas Voda. All right, Hilchos coming to matzah. Yesh bichlal and shmona mitzvos, and 8 mitzvos. Shalosh mitzvos aseh v'chamesh mitzvos los aseh. V'zehu pratan. So there are 3 assays and 5 los assays, and here are their details. Shlo le'achol chametz b'yom arba'a asar mechatos hayom ulamala. Not to eat chametz on the day of the 14th from midday and on. That's the one, you know, lo socha alav chametz, right? Meaning on the Korban Pesach, when you're doing Korban Pesach. 2, l'hashbis se'or me'arba'a asar. To cause leaven to cease from the 14th. Gimel, Shalo, and I think that's the Rambam's way of saying Bir Chametz, Kufnun Vav. I just want to check it out here. Oh, Kufnun Levayir Chametz. Yeah, that's what he says in the minyan and mitzvos. So he uses Lashon Hashbasa here. Gimel, Shalo Lechol Chametz Kol Shiva, not to eat Chametz all 7 days. Dalet, Shalo Lechol Tarovis Chametz Kol Shiva, not to eat a mixture of Chametz all 7 days, separate los aseh. This one you're not 5 cars for. 5, Shlo Yira'eh Chametz Kol Shiva, Chametz shouldn't be seen all 7 days. 6, Shlo Yimateh Chametz Kol Shiva, Chametz shouldn't be found all 7 days. Zayin Lechol Matzah B'Leila HaPesach, to eat matzah on the nights of Pesach. I always found it weird also that he says B'Leila HaPesach, especially because Midoraisa there's only one Lila.
That's weird.
Yeah. Like he doesn't say, for example, he's not going to say in Hilchos Shofar, you know,
Right.
to hear the shofar Yemei Rosh Hashanah, you know. All right. L'saver b'tzitz Mitzrayim b'oso Laila. See, even here he says b'oso halayla on that night, you know. All right. It's just a weird thing. Doesn't sit well.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
That might. No. Wait, right.
Hilchos Shofar v'sukkah v'lulav yesh bichlal and shalosh mitzvos aseh v'zehu pratan. 3 mitzvos aseh. Here are their details. Lishmol kol shofar b'echad b'tishrei. To hear the sound of the shofar on the 1st of Tishrei. This one we also noticed differences, I think. Kuf ayin, because on Kuf ayin he says, oh no. Lishmol kol shofar b'Rosh Hashanah. I think I made the same mistake last time. Is that in the halachos he says trua, to listen to the trua. But here it's just kol shofar, echad b'tishrei, and he calls it echad b'tishrei here, not Rosh Hashanah like he did in Shvisas Yom Tov.
Right.
Second one, leiship sukkah shivas yemei hachag, to sit in the sukkah on the 7 days of the chag, and then little lulav ba mikdash kol shivas yemei hachag. So that's another interesting one, to take the lulav in mikdash all 7 days. So he doesn't mention lulav b'yom rishon outside of mikdash, even though that is the doraisa according to him. And it's interesting.
Does that mean it's some kind of derivative, or?
I don't know. Yeah, see, on in the minyan mitzvahs, he just says little lulav, and that lends itself to both, you know. Yeah. Okay. Next, hilchos shkalim mitzvos zei achas v'hi litin kol ish machatzit hashekel b'chol shana. Okay, so that's a yearly mitzvah. So that actually might be the reason why he mentions that here, because you've got weekly, monthly, yearly.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the Kiddush HaChodesh is like meta yearly, like I mean, it's meta monthly. I mean, you do it every month, but it's not like a scheduled event in the calendar. It's the thing that establishes the calendar. Yeah. All right, that answers the spelling question then.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't answer why it's here as opposed to like after or something. Like it should be before Shvius Yom
Which one are you talking about now?
Tov. Kiddush HaKodesh.
Oh no, yeah, that's not answering that. But
But I guess it could have gone either way. It could be before there, or it could be.
yeah, it could either be at the very beginning, or it could be.
Okay.
See, I mean, I kind of like Shabbos up there because Rishon Hulu Mekraya Kodesh.
Mhm.
You know, that and Zmanim is referenced. In other words, in a sense, Kiddush Kodesh is a means to these Moadim, and like Shabbos is the first Mekraya Kodesh, and then you got the weekly, monthly, yearly, and then the thing that sets up that whole framework, and then Tinios is at Zmanim that are not on the calendar.
Mhm.
You know, Tinios could exist even if we had no calendar system.
Yeah.
You know, and then Megillah Hanukkah is Durabanan. So that works out.
That fits with what we were saying for Mad also, because you're talking about it as like the ends start off.
Oh,
with
you're
the
right.
means.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh mitzvos say achas v'hi lachasho v'leda v'likboa. 3 verbs. To calculate, to know, and to establish. Be'ezeh yom hu tchilas kol chodesh v'chodesh mechodesh Hashanah. Which day is the beginning of each and every month of the months of the year?
And that's 1.
That's 1. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Hilchos Tanios. This is also something I want to track. There are a few mitzvos that are only on specific parties that are not individuals. So let's say like this is one that's on the base din, but he doesn't include that in the koseres. I just want to take note whether he like says that for different ones. Hilchos Tanios mitzvos aseh achas v'hilis anos lizot lifnei Hashem b'chol es tzar gedola shetavu al hatzibor. So it's to afflict oneself and to cry out before Hashem at the time that every great tzara befalls the tzibor. Does yours have a footnote there with a different girsa?
No.
Okay, because I think there is a different girsa. Actually, I'm going to check here. I don't think functionally it makes much of a difference, but okay, let's see here. Oh, sorry, it's at the end of the book. Tinios, yeah. No. Okay, I thought there was one that says shelo tavu al tzibor, so that it should not fall out on the tzibor. Okay, whatever. This is fine. Yeah, this was one where we had. Do you remember what happened here in the minyan mitzvos?
No.
This was an insane one. So here you would say the mitzvah is essentially tinus and sa'aka, right?
Yes.
But nun tes.
Let's go.
Al korbanos uvishas hatzaros. So the emphasis is on, first of all, an institution of mikdash, because that was the grouping here.
Yeah.
And it mentions the chatotros specifically, and throws in at times saros, nothing about zaka. The pasuk he quotes is different. It was katan b'chatotros, you know.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. And then in the halachos, then he also emphasizes the lizo part, not the. I mean, he mentions the chatotros also, but he doesn't mention korbanos. Okay. That's Hilchos Tanios. Then Hilchos Megillah v'Chanukah yesh bichlal and shtei mitzvos aseh midivrei sofrim ve'inan min minyan. So that's another example of that, right? 2 mitzvos midivrei sofrim, but they're not from the minyan. What's weird about this though is, I mean, if I asked you how many mitzvos midivrei sofrim are in Hilchos Megillah v'Chanukah, what would you say?
4.
Okay, you could count it differently. What were you thinking the 4 are?
So menorah,
Mhm.
Megillah. What's it called? Maintenance of the oven.
Mhm.
And what's the other one?
Mishneh Lachanos, yeah. So so what if I told you that all of those the Rambam counts under Megillah?
Yeah.
Then how many would you say there are?
Right. 2.
So there's one more in the section.
Oh, Hallel.
Hallel, yeah, right. And Hallel is vadai a separate mitzvah than the others. Oh, by the way, just a raya that the Rambam counts it in there is we only make a birkas mitzvah on Megillah,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But we make a birkas mitzvah on Hallel and we make a birkas mitzvah on Ner Hanukkah also, and they're completely different actions.
Yeah.
You know, and according to the, I've only seen this reported in one place in the name of the Rav. I have not seen like historical or halakhic substantiation of this, but that the Rav said that Ner Hanukkah was not instituted until after Churban Bayit Sheni. And that when they first made Hanukkah, it was you made Hallel v'Hoda'ah, and it was saying Hallel and then saying Al Hanisim in Modim and in Birkas Hamazon. And then Ner Hanukkah was set up as a zecher to the menorah in the base of Mikdash. You know, so especially if you hold that, so then Hallel is even prior to Ner Hanukkah, and in fact, it comes before it in the halachos, right? Because he introduces Hanukkah, and then the entire Perek Gimel is about Hallel, and then he talks about Hanukkah, Ner Hanukkah in the fourth Perek.
Yeah. Well, what about the miracle?
What about it?
Why do we not have the thing? Is it not commemorating?
It is, but Hallel is really the main commemoration according to that. Yeah. And in other words, like, I think the reasoning, I don't remember if this is the Rav or just my understanding of it, but the reasoning was, the Iker, so you got to give Hallel on the nace. Then you don't need to light candles in your homes. The menorah is functioning in the Beis Mikdash, and there's only one menorah. Yeah. Okay. So it is weird. He only says there's 2 mitzvos to say.
Yeah. Wait. You said it wasn't the menorah didn't come about until Bayesheni? You said?
According to that one thing I've read in the Rav, yeah. The Ner Hanukkah didn't come about.
Yeah, didn't Hanukkah?
No, till Churban Bayesheni.
Oh, okay.
Which was about 200 years after the events of Hanukkah. Yeah. Okay. Nimsu kol. Oh, and the other weird thing, by the way, also is it's not like once the Rambam is into mitzvos midivrei sofrim, it's not like he's constrained by numbers. If you want to throw in another mitzvah midivrei sofrim, like let him have it, right? Like there's no reason for him to not say 3 mitzvos to say. Yeah.
Right.
Especially because Hallel is not even unique to Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Why does he make Hilchos Hallel? Yeah, it's very strange. Nimsu kol mitzvos shel Torah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I do have an answer.
Oh, yeah.
He does say that the Megillah is, you don't say Hallel on Purim because of Megillah.
Yeah.
So he holds that it's like they're related, they're subset.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, could be. Good question. When Hallel was instituted, then?
Right.
Because definitely predated Megillah. If Megillah, I mean, you could say, I guess, that it's a replacement after the fact, like that I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure. Okay, Nimsu kol. So I never noticed this before either. Nimsu kol hamitzvos shel Torah. He didn't have to say that in Hamada because there were only mitzvos HaTorah there.
Right.
Yeah, nice. Okay. There are 35. Tisha Esrei mitzvos aseh, v'sheish mitzvos los, sheish Esrei mitzvos los aseh, yishbo shalosh mitzvos midivrei sofrim. Oh,
whoa!
He throws that in at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, there you go.
Yeah, it just threw me off because he said 3.
Oh no, yeah, Scalim. Or not Scalim. Tiny. Erevin, thank you. Yeah. All right, this is a good stopping point for today.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. See you guys.